I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to the final episode of the Old Oscar Countdown. I know I said that last week, but this week is going to be the reactions video talking about how this Oscars will affect the Oscars to the future come in terms of its cultural relevance, also in terms of as an Oscar analysis, what this will tell us for next year, and how it can sort of course correct for next year. If you don't know, I'm Connor Old, and what I do every single week, and I have been since October, is predicting the Oscars, predicting the nominations, now predicting what's going to win, and now it's going to be the reactions. But stay tuned to the end of the video. This is not going to be the end of this channel. There's going to be an Oscar continuated series. I think it will be a lot of fun. But jumping right into it, in terms of my actual predictions, I got 17 out of 24, which is about 71%. So did pretty well. Not as good as last year. I did better last year, although there was a couple surprises. A couple films that I went on a limb and did well, but a couple that didn't go so well. I guess we should start with the big one, that being of Green Book winning Best Picture. Now, in these past few years, I think it's been really sort of hard to predict what's going to win Best Picture. Best Picture, because of this preferential ballot, because you have to rank your choices, it makes it so much more difficult than some of the other categories. This year I went with Roma, and the choice was Green Book. So before I go into sort of the Oscar relevance of it all, and how this will affect future Best Pictures to come, I'm going to talk about actually just some of the cultural significance of how I think Green Book is going to be remembered. So when I saw Green Book win Best Picture, I have to admit I was disappointed. Actually, not because I didn't like the movie. It was actually maybe my favorite of all the nominees. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the funniest films of the year. It was really fantastic. It was a sweet movie. It was a charming movie, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I can still recognize that as an Oscar obsessive that the film does sort of paint its message of this complex issue of racism in these very broad strokes. It's a very simple movie. It's a very traditional movie. And I thought, sort of personally, that the Academy was changing. I thought a lot of people did. And I think people felt that way. So when this movie did win, it almost feels like a bit of a step back in a lot of ways. Moonlight, when that won in 2016, was a sort of really creative, independent, inventive movie that was very different than all the other Best Picture winners we've ever seen before. And then last year, when The Shape of Water won, it was a very sort of strange movie, fantasy sort of sci-fi that we've never really, we rarely see. So that this year, I was wondering, if it's a Roma, foreign language film, a really true artistic sort of well-respected movie, that would be, would great too. I didn't enjoy the movie as much as I enjoyed Green Book, but still, I know how the Green Book is portrayed online and how it will be sort of portrayed in the future. And that the problem is, because Green Book won Best Picture, it's going to be going down as the quote-unquote sort of controversial bad movie to win Best Picture, because it's traditional, because it's sort of not this unique, innovative thing that maybe might not hold up throughout the test of time. Which is unfortunate, because I think the conversation around that film will be the undeserving, controversial Best Picture in sort of online discussion. Whereas what I think it really should be going down as this sort of charming, well-deserved, Mahershala Ali, Viggo Mortensen are good and well-deserved sort of movie. But now it's going to go down as sort of the controversial Best Picture, which is unfortunate because I like the movie, and seeing it from a cultural sort of standpoint, it's going to be unfortunate because I already see the writings on the wall. I know it's a controversial choice to win Best Picture. But I guess in terms of the actual culture as a whole, I think most films that probably be remembered would be A Star is Born and Black Panther. I think those two will be the most remembered, and rightfully so. Those are two great movies. And then Green Book Roma would be the one that's sort of the personal film of Alfonso Cuarón as people are exploring his filmography, and then Green Book will sort of be the one left on the side. It's unfortunate because it's a great movie, so maybe it'll turn into the next Crash, who knows? But I think it's actually a better movie than that, and I hope it doesn't happen, but unfortunately, because of this Best Picture winner, it creates a certain amount of recognition. And like I said, the Academy, I guess, is not changing as much as we thought. There is sort of an older voting bloc that maybe traditionally sort of likes this more classical Hollywood movie. And I thought, with the international acclaim this year, with so many different nominations internationally, that it wouldn't be such an American film like Green Book. But we still have to take away a few things from this win. First of which being that editing is more important than directing, or so it seems. The editing nomination is very crucial, and Roma not getting in there maybe hurt chances there. But Peter Farrelly, last year we thought Martin McDonagh not getting in for director wasn't a big deal for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. But then when they lost, maybe it was more of a big deal. And then we see, this year with Peter Farrelly for Green Book, I sort of wrote Green Book off because it didn't get in for production, even though it got in for editing. Because I think that's a big category, and I think it's only happened like twice ever in the history of film. So now this makes it a third time. So That's a significant sort of Oscar-ologist thing you have to watch for. And really just sort of actually the technical strength of the movie doesn't really matter, because Roma got those sound categories and got a couple of acting, got sort of the most nominations. A lot of times the most nominated film doesn't actually win Best Picture, so we have to watch out for this technical support. It's really only these key categories. Another thing I want to mention is that another trend is that we're seeing a lot of these films just win screenplay, Best Actor and Picture. That's happened with Moonlight as well. Spotlight won Best Screenplay and Best Picture. A Shape of Water didn't go that route, sort of had a technical win, and then, sort of an odd sort of win in that sense. But recently, I guess the PGAs have been right. There was a couple of years in a row where La La Land lost, and then The Big Short lost the PGAs. La La Land and Big Short won PGAs, and then didn't end up winning Oscars. For the past 2 years with The Shape of Water and Green Book, the PGAs correctly predicted that. So it's a preferential ballot. You have to sort of understand the momentum and things like that, but as of right now, I'm going back to really trusting the PGAs and the preferential ballot system in a lot of ways. And even though there's some glaring omissions like director from the Oscars, that sort of preferential ballot in a confusing year can really sort of guide you in the right direction. And also sort of the screenplay winner and the acting winner, that sort of seems like a good sort of traditional path for Best Picture. Another thing is that the Academy hasn't changed as much as we thought. They're still sort of enjoy these movies, and I think the last thing really is just I've noticed the emotional core of these films are really strong. The through line of something like this Spotlight makes you sort of really emotional and feel sad for these kids. Moonlight, it's a movie about a young man who's oppressed and sort of hiding his feelings, and it's making you feel empathetic in a lot of ways. The Shape of Water, this poor monster is getting sort of treated by these bad people, sort of empathetic as well. And Green Book, it's not, I think there's a lot of empathy because, we feel for Mahershala's character and sort of the racism that he has to go through, and then sort of the bond that they create and the heart. A lot of these films, these Best Picture winners, have a strong emotional core to them. They don't make it sort of vague what to feel. Roma's a film where there's sort of some vagueness to it and what it's saying. It doesn't sort of give it to you in sort of a nice platter. But I think a lot of people sort of like that platter, including myself. It's a great sort of easy emotional core. You don't have to think too much. You don't have to work too hard to understand it. And it makes you feel good in a lot of ways. The Shape of Water sort of was traditional romantic Hollywood. It was, yes, strange and weird, but it still has the strong emotional, empathetic core. And I think in a lot of ways in Moonlight, maybe even something that we disregard in terms of the big Oscar history because it's so different and because it was almost the anti-La La Land choice in a lot of ways. So I think for most of these Best Picture winners, I'm looking for a strong emotional core that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Okay, let's just transition away from Green Book now. Glenn Close, losing to Olivia Colman. I feel so bad for Glenn Close. 7 nominations, now the most nominated actress without a win. I thought this was really going to be her night. I think she did too. So when Olivia won, Olivia won BAFTAs, but that was kind of due to the favorite sweep. I actually thought that as the night was coming down, that the favorite probably wouldn't win anything when it didn't win screenplay. Maybe what we would take away from this is that the movie got 3 acting nominations, so maybe they wanted to give it something because they clearly liked it through the acting community. So who knows? I still probably would have went with Glenn because of the SAGs, although the SAGs may not be proving any relevance. We just saw again with Regina King. She wasn't even nominated at the SAG, and then we went with Emily Blunt. So one of those things where you never really know, and then once again, Regina King showing us the alternate Stallone timeline, not getting nominated for SAG, not getting nominated for BAFTA, but still winning at the Oscars because it's an industry award, and we have to sort of understand. Yes, these precursors matter and all that, but there's also in terms of likability within the industry. So there's been subjective things that led me to believe Regina would win, and it win. She also won. So there's also sometimes you have to follow less of the stats and a little bit more of subjective facts, which I didn't do for some of the things that I lost. Some of the Bohemian Rhapsody things that I thought that maybe it was editing, but maybe by personal bias, knocked it out of the way. Mahershala Ali, they really like him, giving him 2 in 3 years now. It's pretty incredible. Watch out for his career, definitely. Another thing I want to talk about that was, I think, huge around the critical sort of Oscar analysis debate this year was how much these online criticisms would affect the Oscars. La La Land, we sort of felt that there was a backlash, but we wasn't sure if that was online, sort of, people on Twitter saying things like that, or if it was actually the Oscar community, it was the Oscar community as a whole. I think there were some sort of negative reactions to Three Billboards, which actually ended up being sort of more divisive than we thought, and therefore lost the Oscars, my opinion. But this year, we were thinking Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book. There was so many controversies around it, yet both of the films seemingly immune. Green Book, of course, winning Best Picture, Best Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor, and then Bohemian Rhapsody actually winning 4 out of the 5 nominations it was nominated for, and so except for Best Picture. So they really like Bohemian Rhapsody. This sort of controversy, even with Bryan Singer, having rape allegations against him, they really sort of did not mention him at all, tried to separate him from the movie, even though he directed the movie and his name is on the credits. I'm not sure if that one's going to hold up as well. And then Green Book, Nick Vallelonga and Peter Farrelly were the 2 main people in the beginning and sort of the center of the controversy around Green Book, whether it be Nick Vallelonga's tweets or Peter Farrelly, how he acts on sets, or even just the script's sort of general not commitment and no. So they didn't really consult the Shirley family, so there's some accuracy issues with it. And then when it won WGA, they thought that was a sign, and it wasn't. I think that what it tells us is that a lot of times this Oscar controversy, we can get this online hubble and sort of say things, but there's all this controversy around here. But in a lot of ways, if that controversy, it doesn't impede the film in a lot of ways, I still think that it is an effect. And this year we saw that really these people didn't really care that much, and that the Oscar voting body at whole didn't care about these online controversies that sort of came up. Sort of my proud picks, I was proud of picking Black Panther for costume design and score. That was a couple ones I went on a limb off and I started strong with. First Man for visual effects. I'm still surprised everyone went with Avengers. This was pretty clearly to me First Man, and I'm glad I got that right. My favorite one of the night was probably Olivia Colman. I really enjoyed her performance. She was really fantastic in that movie. And my least favorite was probably Bohemian Rhapsody for editing. I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody, but I just thought the editing was very sort of choppy and strange. It didn't flow together, and there's some really oddly cut moments. I think maybe that was because it was shot by 2 different directors, and maybe they want to reward him for sort of salvaging the movie together, but I never kind of look at movies like that. Actually, before we end the episode, I do want to leave you with a couple things. The first one is that I'm starting a new series. This channel is not done. Every year after the Oscars, I start a new series. Last year was Old on Old. Before years was Masters of Controlled Chaos. All these shows I really enjoyed. But I realized that a lot of these you guys are Oscar fans, Oscar people who want to know more about the Oscars. So I'm continuing that in a lot of ways by doing a series called Forgotten Oscar Films. Starting in 1988 with Mississippi Burning, I'm going to be looking at films I'd never heard of that weren't nominated for Best Picture, or sort of never really sort of talked about in the film conversation, why they weren't put up on top 10 lists. These movies were nominated for Best Picture, supposedly some of the best movies of the year, yet people have forgotten them completely. So many of these movies I've never even heard of before. I think I consider myself quite a big film fan, so I'm going to be going back each year, 1988, and then going back and looking at movies I never heard of and seeing these forgotten Oscar films that are nominated for Best Picture and seeing, are they actually great films? What's their cultural, historical relevance? Why didn't they stay up? Why do they still stay relevant? Do they hold up? Is that why? I sort of looking at it from that way. And also once a month I'm going to be continuing my Masters of Controlled Chaos series. So fans of that, stay tuned for that. That should be a lot of fun, which is a deep dive into a director's filmography, which is a lot of fun too. But the final thing I want to leave you with is that even if your film did win Best Picture, if you love Green Book, celebrate that, that's great. But if it didn't, or if you didn't like Green Book, you don't have to sort of go online and bash it and be so terrible. Only one of the Oscar nominees for Best Picture came in my top 10 list of the year. So, you can develop your own taste, find your own critics that you like, find some foreign films, find some people with unique, diverse voices, and really explore films your own way. You don't have to sort of listen to the Oscars. As much as an Oscar obsessive I am, I don't look at Green Book and say, that's the definitive best movie of the year, because I have my own taste, I have my own opinion and stuff. And yes, while I'm glad actually Green Book did win Best Picture, I'm also kind of disappointed. It'll be gone down as this controversial pick. But at the end of the day, don't get too mad. Don't take the Oscars too much to heart, because they are movies, and all these movies are deserving of awards. And I think all of the Best Picture nominees actually did win an award, so that's pretty incredible as well. And really, just it doesn't. It doesn't matter that your favorite film didn't win Best Picture or not, or wasn't nominated, because those films don't go away. You can still appreciate those films, you can still love those films, and still talk about those films and recommend those films to your friends. Yeah, that's about it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed all the incredible, amazing journey. Hit the like button below. Leave me a comment. Tell me how much you enjoyed this season. Maybe what you want to see for the next Oscar season. If you're going to be staying around for this new Oscar season, that I'm continuing pretty much for 7 months until the 2020 Oscar season. But right now, I'm done with the Oscar season. I'm really excited for this new series. That's about it, guys. Oh, and by the way, it's going to be starting this Friday. So stay tuned for that. This will be a lot of fun. That's about it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, stay tuned.